Jack Pierce stood on the bridge of Earth's newest space station. The stars outside the large window were calm and silent. But inside, tension filled the air. Jack, the commander, looked at the glowing screen. A message from deep space had just arrived. It was from the NIGMA Empire. The NIGMA Empire was known across many galaxies. They were strong and feared. Many planets fell under their control without a fight. Now, Earth was on their radar. Jack called Emily Dawson, the lead scientist, to the bridge. Emily was calm but serious. She studied the message carefully. It was a warning. The NIGMA Empire had watched Earth for a long time. They said Earth's technology was growing too fast. This made them worried. Jack knew this was not a threat to ignore. He gathered his team for a meeting. The room was full of leaders from Earth's military and science teams. Victor Grant, the United Nations ambassador, spoke first. "We must prepare for what is coming. The NIGMA Empire does not make empty threats." Emily nodded. "We need to understand their technology better. Our current weapons and ships may not be enough." The room grew quiet. Everyone felt the weight of the situation. Earth was peaceful but not ready for a war in space. Jack stood up. "Our first step is to build better defenses. We need to unite all countries. This is not just one nation's fight. It is Earth's fight." Outside the window, satellites and ships moved in space. They were small but important. They watched for any signs of the NIGMA fleet. Days passed. Emily worked day and night in her lab. She studied the message again and again. She looked for clues about the NIGMA Empire's plans. One evening, Jack came to her lab. "Emily, do you think they will attack soon?" Emily looked up. "I don't know, Jack, but we can't wait. We must be ready." Suddenly, the space station's alarm rang loud. A red light flashed. Jack ran to the command center. The radar showed many ships heading toward Earth's system. It was the NIGMA fleet. Jack's voice was steady but firm. "This is it. Earth must stand together. We warned them. Now we must show our strength." Emily and the others prepared for the battle ahead. Earth was no longer a quiet planet. It was ready to fight for its future. As the NIGMA fleet approached, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure underground command center. Jack Pierce stood before a large map of Earth's defenses. His mind raced, but he kept his face calm. Every decision now would affect the future of humanity. Emily Dawson sat at a nearby console, her fingers quickly typing on the keyboard. She was trying to make sense of the NIGMA message. She knew that their technology was far ahead of Earth's. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this warning than just a simple threat. Victor Grant, the United Nations ambassador, walked over to Jack. "We need to make a decision now. We've already prepared as much as we can. But if we wait too long, it might be too late." Jack turned to him. "We can't just go in blindly. We need to know what we're up against. The NIGMA Empire isn't like any enemy we've faced before. They don't just conquer, they destroy." Victor nodded. "Then we need to find a way to outsmart them." Emily's voice interrupted their conversation. "I've been thinking," she said. "The NIGMA fleet isn't just coming to attack. They're coming to test us. They want to see if we can fight back. If we show fear, they'll strike harder. But if we stand firm, we might have a chance." Jack looked at her, considering her words. "You might be right. They want to see what we'll do." Maya Harris, the strategic operations officer, spoke up. "We've got one shot at this. If we strike first, we could catch them off guard. But if we fail, they'll retaliate with everything they've got." Jack took a deep breath. "Then we have to make sure we don't fail." The room went quiet as everyone waited for Jack's command. He could feel the weight of the decision in the air. It was clear now that this was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for Earth's place in the galaxy. The fleet was still on its way. Earth's forces were ready, but Jack knew the NIGMA Empire was coming with everything they had. Emily's warnings were clear. This was only the beginning. Jack looked out the window, seeing the stars beyond. A battle was coming, and it would change everything. "Get the fleet ready," Jack ordered. "We won't back down." The night was calm on Earth, but the quiet did not last long. Jack Pierce stood on the bridge of Earth's main fleet ship, watching the dark space in front of him. The NIGMA fleet was getting closer, and the tension in the air was thick. Earth's forces were ready, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were not prepared enough for what was coming. Emily Dawson stood by his side, scanning the data on the screens. "Jack," she said softly, "their fleet is too large. We can't fight them head-on without taking heavy losses." Jack didn't answer at first. He had always believed that Earth's strength was in its people, not just its weapons, but against the NIGMA Empire, that strength might not be enough. "I know," Jack finally said, turning to Emily, "but we don't have a choice. We have to show them we're not afraid." The alert sounded, and the space around Earth's defense fleet lit up with red warning lights. The NIGMA ships were now within firing range. Jack's hands tightened around the control panel, his mind working fast. The fleet had a plan to strike first, but he knew it had to be done perfectly. Maya Harris, standing at another station, called out, "Enemy ships are beginning to fire, Commander. We're not in their sights yet, but it won't be long before they target us." Jack took a deep breath. "Prepare the counterattack," he ordered. "We'll hit them hard and fast." The Earth fleet had been built quickly, but it wasn't just the size of the ships that made them dangerous. Earth's greatest weapon was its ability to think and adapt under pressure. The NIGMA Empire might have superior technology, but they hadn't faced humans who would fight to the last breath. Emily watched as the first of the NIGMA ships fired, their lasers slicing through space. "Here they come," she said, her voice calm but urgent. Jack gave a quick nod. "Now, launch the missiles." The Earth fleet's response was quick and fierce. Missiles shot out, tearing through space, targeting the NIGMA ships. There was no time to second-guess the plan. It had to work. For a moment, it seemed like the battle might go in Earth's favor. The NIGMA ships were caught off guard by the speed of the attack, and a few were destroyed in the first round. But the rest of the fleet quickly regrouped, retaliating with overwhelming force. "Maya, prepare for evasive maneuvers," Jack yelled, as more laser fire came toward them. The battle was just beginning, and Earth's forces were learning quickly. But Jack knew they couldn't keep this up forever. Every minute that passed, the NIGMA Empire was getting closer to winning. The battle in space continued, but inside Earth's command center, there was no time to rest. Jack Pierce paced back and forth, watching the battle unfold on the large screen. His fleet was holding its ground, but it was clear that the NIGMA Empire's ships were superior. The lasers from the enemy ships were powerful, and every time Earth's forces launched an attack, the enemy retaliated with even greater force. Emily Dawson sat at a console nearby, her eyes fixed on the data coming in. Her mind was racing. There had to be something they could do, something that would give Earth a fighting chance. As she studied the NIGMA fleet's movements, something caught her attention. The pattern of their attacks didn't make sense. It was as if they were waiting for something. She frowned, leaning closer to the screen. "Jack," Emily called out, her voice filled with urgency. "I think I've found something. The NIGMA Empire isn't just attacking us. They're testing us." Jack walked over to Emily, his face serious. "Testing us? What do you mean?" Emily pointed to the screen where the NIGMA ship's movements were highlighted. "Look at their strategy. They're pushing us back, but they're not trying to destroy us completely. They're seeing how we react, how we fight. They want to learn about our strength, our weaknesses." Jack's eyes narrowed as he studied the data. "So they're not just attacking, they're trying to measure us, to understand how we'll fight back." Emily nodded. "Exactly. And if we show fear, if we retreat, they'll take that as a sign that we're weak. That's when they'll strike harder." Jack felt a surge of determination. He knew that humanity's greatest strength was its resilience. If they showed the NIGMA Empire they weren't afraid, they could still win this fight. "We need to show them we're not backing down," Jack said firmly. "We can't let them think we're scared. We'll hit them harder, faster. Emily looked at him. But Jack, we don't know everything about their technology. What if they have something more dangerous up their sleeves? Jack's jaw tightened. We won't know unless we keep fighting. He turned to the rest of the crew. We need to prepare for the next phase of the battle. This time, we strike first. The command center came alive as everyone scrambled to get ready for the next move. Jack knew this battle was far from over. But now, he had a plan. He would make sure that the NIGMA Empire understood one thing: Earth would not be easily defeated. The battle had reached a dangerous point. Earth's fleet was outnumbered and the NIGMA Empire's ships were relentless. Jack Pierce stood at the command center, his eyes glued to the main screen. The once powerful fleet was now scattered and taking heavy damage. We can't hold them off much longer, Maya Harris, the strategic officer, said, her voice tight with stress. Jack clenched his fists, unwilling to give in. He knew that Earth couldn't win a direct war with the NIGMA Empire, but there was still hope. The key was to outsmart them. Humanity had faced bigger challenges in the past and had always found a way. Emily Dawson stood beside him, her mind racing. She had been studying the NIGMA fleet's movements, trying to find a pattern, a weakness. She turned to Jack, a determined look in her eyes. Jack, I've found something. The NIGMA Empire relies on a central command system. If we can disrupt it, we might be able to break their control over the fleet. Jack's eyes lit up. How do we do that? Emily quickly pulled up a map of the NIGMA fleet. I've identified the location of their main command ship. If we can get a small strike force in close enough to plant a virus in their system, we can take down their entire fleet. Maya frowned. That's risky. Our ships are already damaged. We don't have the firepower to take on the main command ship. Jack looked around the room. The faces of his crew were tired, but they all knew the stakes. We don't need firepower. We need speed and surprise. He turned to Emily. How soon can you make it happen? Emily nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the console. I can work with the engineering team to modify one of our ships for a covert mission. We'll need to get close, and once we're in position, the virus will spread through their systems. Jack took a deep breath. This was their last chance. All right, get it done. Maya, prepare the fleet for a distraction. We'll give our team the opening they need. As Emily and her team worked quickly to prepare the ship, Jack stood by the window watching the battle rage outside. It wasn't just about Earth anymore. This was a fight for the future of humanity. He had no intention of losing. Let's do this, Jack said, turning back to his crew. Earth is stronger than they think. The battle had reached a dangerous point. Earth's fleet was outnumbered, and the NIGMA Empire's ships were relentless. Jack Pierce stood at the command center, his eyes glued to the main screen. The once powerful fleet was now scattered and taking heavy damage. We can't hold them off much longer, Maya Harris, the strategic officer, said, her voice tight with stress. Jack clenched his fists, unwilling to give in. He knew that Earth couldn't win a direct war with the NIGMA Empire, but there was still hope. The key was to outsmart them. Humanity had faced bigger challenges in the past and had always found a way. Emily Dawson stood beside him, her mind racing. She had been studying the NIGMA fleet's movements, trying to find a pattern, a weakness. She turned to Jack, a determined look in her eyes. Jack, I've found something. The NIGMA Empire relies on a central command system. If we can disrupt it, we might be able to break their control over the fleet. Jack's eyes lit up. How do we do that? Emily quickly pulled up a map of the NIGMA fleet. I've identified the location of their main command ship. If we can get a small strike force in close enough to plant a virus in their system, we can take down their entire fleet. Maya frowned. That's risky. Our ships are already damaged. We don't have the firepower to take on the main command ship. Jack looked around the room. The faces of his crew were tired, but they all knew the stakes. We don't need firepower. We need speed and surprise. He turned to Emily. How soon can you make it happen? Emily nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the console. I can work with the engineering team to modify one of our ships for a covert mission. We'll need to get close, and once we're in position, the virus will spread through their systems. Jack took a deep breath. This was their last chance. All right, get it done. Maya, prepare the fleet for a distraction. We'll give our team the opening they need. As Emily and her team worked quickly to prepare the ship, Jack stood by the window watching the battle rage outside. It wasn't just about Earth anymore. This was a fight for the future of humanity. He had no intention of losing. Let's do this, Jack said, turning back to his crew. Earth is stronger than they think. The plan was in motion. The Earth fleet had made its move, drawing the attention of the NIGMA Empire ships. The distraction had worked. The enemy fleet was focused on the Earth ships, leaving their central command ship vulnerable. Jack Pierce stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as his fleet fired at the enemy. Stay focused, he said to his crew. This is our chance. Keep the NIGMA occupied. Our team needs this window to get through. Emily Dawson was on another ship preparing for the mission that could change everything. Her team had worked through the night, modifying one of Earth's fastest ships to carry a virus that could disable the NIGMA Empire's control systems. It was a small, stealthy ship, perfect for the job. The ship was ready. Emily took a deep breath as she sat at the helm. We're ready, she said to her team. Maya Harris, back on the flagship, watched the screens carefully. The NIGMA fleet was fighting back hard. But Maya knew that this was their only shot. The NIGMA ships are distracted, but not for long. We need to make this quick, she said into the communicator. Emily's ship, now fully loaded with the virus, moved quickly toward the heart of the NIGMA fleet. The black space ahead was filled with NIGMA ships, but Emily's ship was small and fast enough to avoid detection. It was a high-risk mission, but it was the only way. We're getting close, Emily said, her voice steady. The Central Command ship was just ahead, its massive form looming in the darkness of space. The tension was unbearable. They had to be careful. One wrong move, and the mission would fail. Get us in position, Emily ordered. Her co-pilot adjusted their course, steering them toward the Central Command ship. They were close now, too close for comfort, but Emily didn't hesitate. She knew that they couldn't back out now. We're in, Emily said, starting the virus upload. Back on Earth's flagship, Jack and the crew watched their screens, waiting. The NIGMA ships were still focused on the rest of the fleet. If Emily's team could upload the virus, the NIGMA's control system would fall. Emily's fingers worked quickly. Almost there, she said, her heart racing. The seconds ticked by like hours. Finally, the upload was complete. We did it, Emily said. The virus is in their system. Jack's face lit up. Good work, Emily. Now let's finish this. The moment the virus entered the NIGMA Empire's command system, everything changed. The NIGMA ships began to lose coordination, their weapon systems malfunctioning and their movements slowed. It was the perfect chance for Earth's fleet to strike. Jack Pierce stood in the command center, his eyes locked on the screen. He could see the chaos in the NIGMA fleet. The distraction had worked, but he also knew that it wouldn't be long before the enemy regrouped. They had to act fast. Now's our chance, Jack shouted. Push forward, don't stop. Earth's fleet, now with the upper hand, launched a final offensive. The NIGMA ships, once controlled by their central command, now struggled to defend themselves. The tide of the battle began to turn. But even as Earth ships fired, Jack knew that this was just the beginning. On the ground, Emily Dawson's ship had already completed its mission. Her team had uploaded the virus, but they weren't safe yet. They had to make it back to the fleet, and that meant getting through a fleet of NIGMA ships that were beginning to regain control. Emily, we need to get out of there now. Maya Harris's voice crackled through the communicator. The NIGMA fleet is recovering. You don't have much time. Emily's hands tightened on the controls. The ship was fast, but the NIGMA ships were starting to lock onto them again. She looked to her crew, her face determined. We'll make it out. We have to. But as they made their way back, the NIGMA Empire wasn't finished. Their remaining forces targeted Emily's ship, and soon they were in a dogfight. Emily's heart raced as the lasers from the NIGMA ships flashed all around them. We're losing power, her co-pilot shouted. Emily gritted her teeth. She wasn't going to let Earth's victory slip away. She turned the ship sharply, evading a direct hit, but it was clear that they were running out of time and options. "Hold on!" Emily shouted, as she pushed the ship into overdrive. The NIGMA fleet was still in pursuit, and their shots were getting closer. With one final burst of speed, Emily made a risky move, turning her ship in a dangerous direction to confuse the enemy. But the move came at a cost. The ship's systems began to fail. Emily looked at the warning lights flashing across the console. She knew they wouldn't make it back. "Tell Jack." "We did it," Emily said, her voice calm despite the danger. Then, with one final push, she sent the ship into a roll, narrowly avoiding another shot from the NIGMA fleet. The ship was damaged, but the mission had been a success. Earth had won. After Emily's team made their escape, the chaos in space only grew. Earth's fleet pushed forward, their attacks now even more precise, while the NIGMA fleet, once so organized, was falling apart. Their ships had lost communication. Their weapons were malfunctioning, and their once mighty fleet was being torn apart. Jack Pierce stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as the NIGMA Empire's fleet crumbled before them. It felt like a dream. The empire that had once seemed unstoppable was now in ruins. But even as the battle shifted in Earth's favor, Jack knew the victory came at a price. They had lost many ships, and the war wasn't truly over. The NIGMA fleet might be scattered, but their commanders would regroup and retaliate. "We're not done yet," Jack said, his voice steady. "Keep pushing forward. We need to make sure they can't recover." Emily Dawson's ship was still missing, and there was no word on her team. Jack had a sinking feeling in his chest, but he refused to let doubt take hold. Emily had made the ultimate sacrifice. Now it was up to him and the rest of Earth's forces to finish what they had started. Meanwhile, Maya Harris stood beside Jack, watching the live feeds of the battle. "The NIGMA fleet is scattered," she said. "They've lost their central command. They're disorganized and weak, but we still need to find Emily." Jack nodded, though his heart ached with worry. "I know, but right now we have to finish this. We can't let them regroup." As Earth's ships moved through the battlefield, they continued to strike the NIGMA Empire's remaining forces. The once dominant fleet was now a broken shadow of its former power. Jack watched as one by one, the NIGMA ships either retreated or were destroyed. The remaining enemies fought back, but their efforts were in vain. A report came in from one of Earth's reconnaissance ships. "We've spotted the NIGMA command ship. It's disabled but still functional." "Finish them off," Jack ordered without hesitation. "We need to ensure this ends today." The final push came. Earth's fleet surrounded the NIGMA command ship, targeting its weak points. With a final blast, the command ship was destroyed, and with it the last hope of the NIGMA Empire. The battle was over. Earth had won. The NIGMA Empire, which had once threatened the entire galaxy, was no more. But as Jack looked out at the burning wreckage of the NIGMA fleet, he couldn't help but feel the emptiness of their victory. Emily's team had given everything, and their sacrifice would not be forgotten. The NIGMA Empire had fallen. Earth's fleet had won, but the cost was high. Jack Pierce stood in the command center looking out at the stars. The battle had been fierce, and many brave soldiers had lost their lives, including Emily Dawson and her team. The victory was bittersweet. As Jack watched the last of the NIGMA fleet retreat, he felt a heavy weight in his chest. Earth had survived, but the war had changed them forever. It wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for their future. And now, as Earth began to rebuild, Jack knew the true battle was just beginning. "Commander," Maya Harris said, her voice breaking through his thoughts, "we've received messages from the other planets. They're asking for peace talks, alliances, and they're offering support." Jack turned to her. "It's going to take time, Maya, but it's a start. We can't rebuild this quickly. It'll take effort, and we'll need the help of everyone on Earth. This victory isn't just about us. It's about every living being on this planet." Maya nodded. "I know. And they're ready. Earth has shown what it can do." The news of the NIGMA Empire's defeat spread quickly. People all over Earth celebrated, but Jack knew that it wasn't the end of the struggle. Earth would have to learn from the war and grow stronger. The galaxy would now be watching them, and Jack was determined to make sure Earth would be ready for whatever came next. As the days passed, Earth's leaders began to work together to heal. The damage was extensive, but there was hope. Jack and Maya coordinated efforts to repair the fleet and bring Earth's forces back to full strength. They knew that peace was not guaranteed, but they were ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. In the quiet moments, Jack thought about Emily. She had fought so hard for this victory, and her sacrifice had not been in vain. The world would never forget her, or the others who had given everything to protect Earth. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. The fight was not over, but humanity had proven that it could stand strong no matter the odds. Jack stood up and looked out into the endless space, a sense of peace settling over him. Earth had survived the storm. Now, it was time for a new dawn. Years had passed since the fall of the NIGMA Empire, and Earth had slowly begun to rebuild. The scars of war were still visible, but the planet had endured. Humanity had fought for its future and had come out stronger. The memories of those who had sacrificed everything, especially Emily Dawson and her team, were honored by every person on Earth. Their courage had saved the planet. Jack Pierce now stood in front of a memorial dedicated to the fallen heroes of the war. It had been built in the center of Earth's capital, a place where everyone could remember the sacrifices made. Jack's heart ached as he thought of the friends and comrades he had lost. But he also felt a sense of pride. They had won. Earth had shown that no enemy, no matter how powerful, could break their spirit. Maya Harris walked up beside him. "We've come a long way, Jack. The galaxy is watching us, and we've shown them what Earth is made of." Jack nodded. "It wasn't easy, but we did it. We're not just survivors anymore, we're leaders, and it's time to show the galaxy what we can do." The UN had opened communication with other planets, and soon Earth had begun to form alliances. The war had ended, but new challenges awaited. Jack had made it his mission to ensure that humanity would never be caught off guard again. They were no longer a small, quiet planet in the corner of the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the years went by, Earth's military grew stronger, and their technology advanced. But Jack knew that the true strength of Earth lay in its people. The unity that had been born from the war, the determination to protect their home, would be the thing that kept them safe in the future. One day, as Jack stood looking out over the planet from his office, he saw a fleet of ships from allied planets arriving. Earth was no longer alone. The galaxy was beginning to trust them, and Jack knew that this was only the beginning. Earth had earned its place in the stars. The fight against the NIGMA Empire had been their first test, and they had passed it. Now Earth was ready for the future. It was a future of peace, strength, and unity. A future where humanity would stand tall, side by side with their new allies, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy would bring. The legacy of Earth was just beginning.